Is it possible to have never played The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion in the last 20 years of its existence? Yes, for I am one of those players. 2006 was the start of a long deviation from video games in my life, and so I missed out on this widely praised RPG, until now with Oblivion Remastered. For the purposes of this review, I will be talking about my experience after 100%ing the remaster with no mention of the original Xbox 360 version aside from this one point. The remaster clearly looks leagues better than the original game, but from my understanding seems to remain faithful to everything else the original had to offer, for better or worse. So, let's dive right in.
These are the closing days of the Third Era, and the final hours of my life.
Let me start by saying I had such a good time with this game that I couldn't put it down, and even after 100%ing it, I immediately jumped into a second playthrough to do it again on a different difficulty, something I couldn't even do with The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. That alone should tell you the kind of fun Oblivion has to offer. The strongest feature is the storytelling and dialogue, especially if you venture into the faction side quests like the Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood. The characters are almost all memorable, and I found myself never wanting to skip the dialogue even though the option to do so is there.
I can go no further. You alone must stand against the Prince of Destruction and his mortal servants. He must not have the Amulet of Kings. Take the amulet, give it to Joffrey. He alone knows where to find my last son. Find him, and close shut the jaws of Oblivion.
The main quest, though equally enjoyable with actors such as Patrick Stewart and Sean Bean, is also home to the most boring aspect of the game, Oblivion Gates. While the world of Cyrodiil is widely enjoyable to explore, the world of Oblivion itself is repetitive and stale. In each instance, your goal is to find your way to the central tower and destroy its portal by removing the sigil stone at the top. Rather than memorable characters and events, Oblivion Gates are full of the same monsters and Daedra warriors that are easily forgettable and nothing but damage sponges. This brings up arguably the most problematic thing with the game, the difficulty scaling. I started on Novice and Apprentice difficulties, both of which are below the standard difficulty of Adept. In these modes, everything died in 1 or 2 hits, regardless of character stats, and I never once had to use a potion to heal. On my second run through the game, I played on the standard Adept difficulty and everything took several hits to kill, and I needed many potions. From my understanding, anything harder than the standard difficulty just turns the enemies into near invincible creatures, which I personally would find more tedious than fun. But let's get to the good stuff. The game starts with a fairly detailed character creation system that extends into the gameplay of the first 40 minutes as you choose your playstyle during the intro prison escape sequence, and the beginning character design is mostly just cosmetic. I chose to play as an Argonian thief archer my first time through the game, and a Khajiit mage for my second playthrough. I found that it was harder to play as a mage, as it introduced enchanted weapons and the need to recharge them, and constantly spend gold on spells and training, so money management was much more of a thing than simply looting the best bows and arrows off enemies. And money is hard to earn in this game compared to Skyrim, as one of the skills you must build is the Mercantile skill, which determines how much gold you get for selling items. For most of the game, you will get far less money than what an item is worth. There is an option to haggle the buying price of items, but I found it doesn't even work. Speaking of not working, this brings up a couple of other performance problems with the game. In very rare instances, the frame rate will drop considerably, and even more rare than that are actual game crashes. Twice during my 70 hours of playtime, I had to hard reset the game due to it failing to load an area, and 2 other times the game actually ran into a fatal error and crashed. These issues might be patched out over time, but for now they are present enough to likely happen to you at some point. There are also other minor bugs often seen in Bethesda games, like legs disappearing, characters sitting in invisible chairs, or even walking without moving their legs, but they're usually part of the clunky charm than an actual issue. The only major issues I saw besides the frame rate and crashing were the haggling not even working at all, the persuasion minigame forcing you to choose options that fail before you can even back out of it, and when playing as a mage, even maxing out the magic skill, some spells were unusable due to low magicka levels. I found myself wishing the spells were easier accessed for varied gameplay, and I still don't understand why the game doesn't give you enough magicka to cast some of them. But anyway, what really makes the game so fun that I immediately wanted to play a second playthrough? Well, the freedom of choice is the biggest thing. Why would you only play as one thing when there are numerous options to choose from, even more than Skyrim has to offer? In addition to character perks and stats, you must choose your birth sign, and then even later your class. These determine passive boosts to your abilities and how your stats will grow over time respectively. If you don't like the choices available, you can even create your own custom class. I loved playing as an archer, but it was a new flavor of fun playing as a mage and actually having strong enough abilities to use spells like buoyancy to breathe underwater that I couldn't even use as an archer. The heart of the game, though, is found in all the achievements, as they require you to complete all the side quest guilds. These are the Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood, Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, and Arena. While the Arena is nothing more than a combat test, it's a fun side quest with a medieval times-like vibe. The Thieves Guild prioritizes lockpicking and stealth, and follows a series of characters like the Argonian Amuse, who frequently lands himself in trouble and needs rescuing.
If that's Theranos' treasure, I know where it is. But I'm not telling you anything until we're out of here. Get me out of the castle. As soon as we're out of sight of the castle's main gate, I'll tell you.
The Dark Brotherhood gives you assassin contracts to kill certain targets in creative ways in honor of the Dark Lord Sithis, and you join a fellowship of assassins like the Argonians Tanava and Ochiva, who later need your help killing a betrayer to the Shadow Scale Order.
On the southern end of Cyrodiil lies a swamp called Bogwater. Hiding in that swamp, you will find an Argonian Shadow Scale named Scartail. Kill this renegade, and bring me his heart as proof of the deed.
The Mages Guild has you assist every fraternity in Cyrodiil before you are allowed to join the Imperial City's university and begin the storyline of mages versus necromancers.
Ready to find Jaskar? Just watch. You'll see.
Hello there. I hear you've been looking for me. Please, don't be mad. We were just having some fun. We just get tired of Jinn lording her position over us when she barely knows anything about magic. Every now and then, we like to trick her. We figured it was time to move on to a new prank. This one was getting boring anyway. So, you can tell her you found me.
The Fighters Guild has you jump around Cyrodiil eliminating monsters before ultimately solving the mystery behind the rival Blackwood Company. And even further still are fun super side quests like the Daedra Shrines. The Sheogorath Shrine, for example, has you go to a town called Border Watch and facilitate the events of a doomsday prophecy as a prank on the gullible Khajiit
These are
townsfolk.
the signs as they were foretold. First, there is the plague of vermin. It is said our town will be overrun by disease-carrying creatures. Rats, I would imagine. Oof, horrible little things. I always keep a powerful rat poison around in case I see one of the little monsters. Next is the plague of famine. It is foretold that our livestock will fall dead in their fields with no apparent explanation. We have but the 6 sheep in our pasture, and we make sure they are well tended. The plague of fear. I will not speak of this, not to any outsider. I'll answer anything else I can. Is there something more? Perhaps you'd like to know more about Border Watch itself.
The bottom line is there is a ton of character and lots of effort put into the dialogue. The more you explore, the more hooked you will be. However, if all you do is the main quest and hang out in the realm of Oblivion, you may completely miss the wonders of this game. I found that some things about The Elder Scrolls 4 were better than Skyrim, and yet other things in Skyrim are better than Oblivion. It's a little tough to compare the two, but overall I think there is more character variety and heart in Oblivion than the very Nordic-toned Skyrim. As a first-time player, I enjoy both games, but I think Oblivion is more memorable and accessible, and the glow-up really looks great. Having slept on it for 20 years, I now see what I missed way back in 2006, and it's hard to believe that a game this jam-packed with dialogue and quests existed on that old hardware. If Bethesda learns from this Shadow Dropped remaster and applies it to Elder Scrolls 6, there could be a truly wonderful game coming in the future. In conclusion, I give The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered an 8 out of 10, largely because it is too enjoyable to put down, but it has some repetitive sections and difficulty scaling issues that knock it down a peg. Since it's cheaper than most AAA games out there these days, I think it's worth every penny invested. There are not many games out there that I bother to obtain 100% on these days, let alone get a platinum trophy in the achievements list. But Oblivion makes every step of the way engaging and enjoyable, and it doesn't have absurd collectathon achievements. It simply wants you to explore the guilds of Cyrodiil and get your money's worth reliving one of Bethesda's best pieces of work. And if you enjoyed this brief review, be sure to check out my playlist of other reviews on the channel, as well as both of my Let's Plays of Oblivion Remastered. I'm Bill from Good Old Days Gaming, and thanks for watching.
All right, boys, listen up. We've got to close that gate over there. Nobody likes the idea of going into that thing, but it's our job, and we're going to do it. If we don't, Bruma ends up a smoking pile of rubble, like what happened at Kvatch. And that's not going to happen here, not while I'm captain of the guard. Boor, Soren, you're with me. The rest of you stay outside and kill anything that comes out of that gate. Let's show these bastards how we do things in Bruma.
So
Damn
far,
right.
so good.
We're with you, Captain.